The Facebook IPO is still set for tomorrow after the bell. For a behind-the-scenes look at the road to an initial public offering, let's bring in corporate finance expert Phyllis Korff, a partner at Skadden Arps, and she joins me here in studio. Thanks so much for joining us. Welcome to Bottom Line.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be here.
You have advised on IPOs, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Carlyle, Blackstone, Virgin Mobile. What's it like to help craft one of these things, to be in the room when the minutiae is hammered out?
I love it. I find it very interesting. You learn so much about a particular industry and the particular offering. It's very exciting to be there, although I guess some would say that it could get a little boring in the details. But I love the details.
Is it nerve-wracking at all?
It is nerve-wracking. There are various times in the deal when it is, and now would be one of them, as you're just about to price. Right?
No doubt. Yeah. Well, during your experience helping to negotiate the IPOs, what's the most unusual thing that's ever happened? Have you ever come close to it falling apart at the last minute?
I was actually involved in one that did fall apart at the last minute plus. I was involved in the BATS exchange, which actually did price and started to trade. And unfortunately, after it opened on their own exchange, the exchange had a flaw, technology flaw, and they couldn't handle the trading. And that was just horrible, really horrible.
So what does that mean for all of the work and for all of the man and woman hours that you put into something like this?
Well, we hope it's not all for naught, because it happens to be a great company, and I think they will attempt it again. I'm certainly hoping so.
Facebook IPO, as you know, is scheduled for tomorrow. What are the last-minute concerns or hurdles that folks who are involved in this might be facing right now?
I think they're probably having difficulty setting the price. I mean, I think they have one of the best problems around. There is so much demand, and as you know, they've increased the price range just 2 days ago, and then they increased the number of shares they're selling, you know, to try to meet that demand. So I think they're probably having a hard time getting to just the right price at which to be able to sell it.
If you're an advisor or an underwriter to an IPO, what don't you want to find out 24 hours before launch?
I guess there are a lot of things you don't want to find out. You certainly don't want to find out about anything important that was not disclosed in the prospectus, because then you would have to do another filing. You don't want to find out there's a change in management. You know, obviously I'm not suggesting that that's an issue here, but just generally speaking, you don't want to find out about any particular change that has happened from what you've already presented to the public.
Just don't rock the boat at the last minute.
Don't rock the boat, right.
If the public feels that an IPO's valuation is too high, how does that affect negotiations?
Well, I think if the public feels it's too high, it's probably not going to price at the midpoint of the range or above the range. It's probably going to price either below the range, or you're going to take some demand out of the deal, so there'll be fewer shares, and maybe you can maintain the right price. As you know, the underwriters build a book, and they've been talking to large investors for several weeks now, and they have a pretty good idea of certainly what the institutions will pay. And in this transaction, as in some consumer names, there is so much retail demand that we understand that the book is, you know, very much oversubscribed.
What would happen to the IPO market if the Facebook IPO doesn't live up to hype?
I think actually it could be a big setback for the IPO market.
In what way?
If that because so many people are pinning their hopes on this. This is a company a lot of people know, they love, they're involved with, you know, many of them on a daily basis, and a lot of people want a part of the action.
Sure they do.
And if they're disappointed in this, then I don't know, the market isn't so robust as it is, I think it could be a setback.
I have about 30 seconds left.
Yes.
I have to ask you about what happened with GM yesterday, third largest advertiser in the U.S., saying that it's going to pull its ads from Facebook because they say that the ads have been ineffective. Does something like this affect the psychology of the marketplace as an IPO draws near?
You know, it could. And it might, but I have a feeling in this one that it won't.
Or is this just a public relations headache at this point?
Yeah, a little bit, but not so much. They've got so much going for them. I think that's just one tiny negative.
Corporate finance expert Phyllis Korff, a partner at Skadden Arps, joining us in studio. It's a pleasure to meet you. Thanks so much for coming on. Thank you.
My pleasure.